Oh, yeah, it's LSU Alabama week. Let's talk some football, shall we? Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked On LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked On LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We are free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you sincerely for that. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in the world. Pleasure to be here, and we're glad you're with us. It has been, as you know, a wild 2 weeks. From LSU's loss on that Saturday 2 weeks ago to Texas A&M to Brian Kelly's firing and the dominoes that followed subsequently. We've been here. We've been on top of all of it. It happened to coincide with, obviously, LSU's open date. And so it feels like forever since LSU played a game. And certainly everyone's attention has been on the coaching search and all of the ancillary things and not actually the football team. Well, on Saturday, LSU is going to tee it up and kick it off in Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa against Alabama. Tigers are a 10-point underdog in that football game. It's actually vacillated, 10.5, 9.5. As of Friday afternoon, we record this. It's 10.5. So we'll see if that moves anymore. But a lot of people may ask the question, does LSU have a shot? And what might actually be materially different for LSU in this football game than the first 8 games you've seen? And my contention has been, and always is, that you when you get to this point in the season where you're 8 games in, you kind of are what you are. You can't go back to fall camp and reinstall a new offense or anything like that. I mean, in many respects, you can tweak, but the hay's in the barn. It's how can you stack upon what you already have built or are. Like, we know LSU is very good in the secondary. We know LSU is very bad on the offensive line. I think there's some potential there in the running game. The defensive front has not really gotten home very much over 8 games. Like, these are things we know about the team over an 8-game sample that shouldn't be expected to change dramatically. But there are two things. There are 2 things, I think, that we could see that would be pretty different for LSU Saturday. First and foremost, I think the most obvious would be just the vibe, the intangible. And this is impossible to quantify, but I'm going to try to make it as sort of obvious as I can, or easy to understand as I can. Because while you can't quantify the intangible, look, you fire a coach in a season where there was so much expectation, you go one of 2 ways. Guys opt out, you crater, you stop trying. That's what's happened with Penn State. Obviously, Drew Aller got hurt. James Franklin was fired, and that's a team right now that is winless in Big Ten play. Preseason, number 2 team in the country, winless in conference play. They have quit. LSU, nobody opted out. Not a single player opted out of the remainder of the season. And Frank Wilson, as the recruiting coordinator in 2 different stints, recruited every one of these players. So he has a relationship with literally every one of these players through the recruiting process. So, and to hold that role, you have to be a great communicator. You have to have people skills. We talked about it when Frank held his first Monday press conference about all the different ways that he was pulling out all the motivational tactics. Like, something that he started, listen to this. He explained, they've started something called the all-in drum. Frank Wilson explained this on the teleconference this week. Give a listen.
You know, it's something I learned years ago from Pete Carroll, and over the years I have continued to carry with us since probably 2005, and it representing the drum being the heartbeat of the football team and making clear understanding and distinction that when the football goes into play, the game starts. At the end of the game, the referee will hoist the ball above his shoulders, indicating the game is over. So for our special teams unit, they breathe life into the game. And so being a tone setter whether it's the kickoff return team, the kickoff coverage team, it's pivotal to us to be able to start fast and breathe life into the game. And so I wanted to bring that symbolism, if you will, of the heartbeat. So we could charge our special team. We could charge our team that when the ball goes in play, life has been injected into us. And we use the drum to be symbolic of that.
I mean, we have gone straight back to one team, one heartbeat. We've gone straight back to Pete Carroll, interim ed. The only thing Frank Wilson's missing now is a binder to try to get this job full time. I'm teasing, obviously, but you can understand. And listen, he has gotten buy-in from the players on this stuff. Here's Braylon Moore.
Yeah, we're high energy. There's no time to be low spirits. We go play Bama. They're top 3 in the country, and we're playing at their stadium, so there's no time for us to be low energy. At practice, we're flying around, we're hitting. We're very high energy right now.
We are spending all of our time talking about who's going to be the next coach, Scott Woodward being fired, Verge being the interim, the new president, then taking the interim off of Verge, and then walking it back, and then actually, no, just kidding. He is we've spent 2 weeks doing that. The football players don't have the luxury of taking their eye off the ball because Saturday they have to go play a football game against the number 3 team in the country. So they don't have the luxury of the number 4 team in the country. They don't have the luxury of focusing on all the things we are. They're insulated in football ops, and Frank's done a good job of motivating them. And the other thing, too, is, I want to just give you some reaction. Just so you understand, if you're wondering if this team's going to crater or play hard, here was Trey Green on Frank Wilson.
He's 100% real. I can relate to Coach Frank. We come from sort of the same places, and, he just got so much real experiences that he can shed on me.
I mean, let's hear from West Weeks. West Weeks, the vibe with the team.
I think it's been good. I think he's doing a great job bringing the guys together, really keeping us together and bringing energy every day for us. So we're still one team, and I still feel like we're all together. So it's been good.
One more. Here was Braylon Moore specifically on Frank Wilson.
Yeah, he's very calm and collected, but fiery at the same time. He'll come in here and talk and just be real smooth, and then all of a sudden he's firing, he's screaming, and it just wakes everyone up. I think we need that, and they're incorporating different things to just kind of bring up the energy and kind of change it a little bit, and I really loved it.
So the point being, I told you there's 2 things. One is Frank Wilson can get buy-in, and he's gotten buy-in from his guys. Look, you can listen. I would say actions speak louder than words. Those words are important, but the actions that nobody's opted out. Literally not one player has opted out. No one said, I'm going to the draft, I'm going to the portal. No one's out there. Everyone is still playing. That's one. So they're bought in. You should expect a great effort. The other thing is something I've talked about a good bit, is that I think LSU is going to run the football. And I'm going to talk a bit more about this in just a little bit, but on Monday, when Frank Wilson was meeting with reporters, and we did play this for you on Monday here on the show, if you're an everydayer, shout out, thank you, where Frank Wilson relayed a story that Blake Baker said, Coach, I need a full contact run period. I need to simulate this physicality for my guys so they're not feeling it for the first time in the game. So Frank said, you got it, Tuesday, we're doing it. Well, that was the 9-on-7 period that they instituted, and all the players seem to love it. Here was Trey Green.
It feels like we had this 9-on-7 drill today. We was going at it. It was a lot of chaos. It was so great. It was good for the team.
Trey Green, Braylon Moore talking about physicality.
I would just say there's a big point of emphasis on playing physical and running the ball. Everything starts at the line of scrimmage and the run game. If we can run the ball, it opens everything else up. Our offense has been the most successful when we're able to run the ball. We need to do that.
Offense has been the most successful when we've been able to run the ball. We need to do that. He's right, by the way. Defensive side. Here's West Weeks on the 9-on-7 drill.
Today we had a drill called 9-on-7, which is basically inside running. I like that drill a lot. It's basically good on good, and where they're running the ball. They know where you're going to be, so it's who can beat a block and make a play.
And then one more on the physicality, and Braylon Moore talking. Again, you don't need to remember all this. It's underscoring that all of these guys, either side of the ball, different positions, they're all saying the same thing.
That was fun. That was probably one of the funnest periods I've had this year, because that's real football. 9 people on defense, 7 on offense, so we're outnumbered. It was harder on us, but, I love the challenge. And, pads were popping today, and there was just such a high energy, and it made it so fun. So I definitely love that they added that to the practice.
9 people on defense, 7 on offense. The ball is being run between the tackles. Everybody knows where it's going, who can move bodies. That's the charge. I've said this all week. I've said this for 2 weeks. Your head coach is the running backs coach. The guy calling plays is by trade an offensive lineman. He's been coaching tight ends, but he's an offensive lineman. I've said it when we've talked about specific individual players, like DJ Chester, for example. He's been playing out of position. He may not be able to kick, slide, and stop SEC tackle edge rushers, but you know what he can do? He's 6'7", 320 pounds. He can put his hand on the ground, crash bodies into another big human, and move bodies and create space. That's the key to running the football. That's what I think you're going to see. So the 2 things materially: 1, you're going to see LSU give great effort. I don't think they've quit. And 2, you're going to see more of an emphasis on physicality at the line of scrimmage and running the football. So what does that look like? I want to explore that a little deeper. We do it as we continue here, Locked on LSU, your team every day. It's almost the weekend, so it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. So let's break it down. For the LSU Tigers, how about a hat tip to Coach Frank Wilson, delivering in a big way in this interim role to get LSU ready to roll in this game and for the final 4 games of the season. Just like Coach Wilson delivered for the LSU Tigers, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through 11/18. One of the things that I've pretty consistently said all season long is that you will be able to determine the outcome of the game, how it went, LSU's success or failure, by looking at the rushing statistic total. And I don't mean to just continue to hammer down on that, but it is true. When LSU played Clemson, they won that game 17-10. LSU ran the ball in that football game 31 times for 108 yards. Clemson ran it 20 times for 31. Clemson abandoned the run. LSU stuck with it. They threw the ball in that game 39 times, ran it 31. It's only 2 times all season LSU has run the ball 30-plus times. You want to look at the Vanderbilt game that LSU lost on the road? They completely abandoned the run in the second half. LSU threw it 28 times. They ran it 21 times, abandoning the run in the second half of that football game. Same thing in the game against Texas A&M, where LSU obviously just wasn't on the field very much throughout the duration of that game, but they threw it 39 times, ran it 27 times. You can't have that disparity in run pass. You have to be willing to run the football. So I think we look at Bama and we think about what Bama has been traditionally and was under Nick Saban. That's not this Alabama defense. The odd thing is Bama is actually close to a mirror image of LSU. Alabama is 72nd in the country in rush defense, allowing 149 rush yards per game. And you may say, well, Matt, that's fine and great. LSU is not very good at running the ball. You're right. LSU is 122nd in the country in rush offense. But if you look at it, Alabama running the football, not much better. Alabama in their rushing offense is 112th in the country, where LSU is 122. Bama's 114. LSU runs it for 106 a game. Bama runs it for 118 a game. 2 of the worst rushing offenses in the country. 2 offensive lines that are big and physical, and you have some veteran players, but just haven't been great at paving the way for a rushing offense. Both teams have very good skill players at receiver, and you have veteran quarterbacks. We know the difference is Ty Simpson's played great. Garrett Nussmeier really hasn't played great. But the point being, my contention has been that I believe LSU's inability to run hasn't been because they can't. It's because they won't. They haven't tried. They haven't committed to running the football. In the game against Clemson that I just mentioned, LSU ran the ball 31 times. They made for 108 yards. 108 yards isn't going to blow anybody away. But the point is there was a commitment to running the football. And remember in that game, now you won that game 17-10, but Berrien Brown had what looked like a touchdown come off the board. And you had a pass to Bauer Sharp deep down the right sideline where he barely missed scraping his toe, where that would have put you in position for more points. You had opportunities. The only other game, aside from Clemson, where LSU had at least 30 rushing attempts was South Carolina. They ran the ball 30 times against South Carolina. Now, that was a 20-10 final score, but remember, Juwan Johnson fumbled going into the end zone. Garrett Nussmeier threw an interception at the goal line. Damian Ramos missed a field goal. That's 17 points that you left out there. I mean, you probably should have won that game 37-10. And what was your best, most dominant performance of the season where you had balance on offense? That is the key Saturday. You can run the football against this Alabama football team. They are not the type of defensive unit that Nick Saban and Kirby Smart had built for so many years there in Tuscaloosa. When you think about the Florida State game, the one game that they lost, you could say that that's an outlier, but Florida State in that game ran for 200. They ran 49 times for 230. 49 rushing attempts for 230 yards. Pick any other game. Look at the Georgia game. Now, Bama won that game 24-21, but I'll remind you, Georgia shut Alabama out in the second half, and Georgia, Kirby passed on a field goal in the fourth quarter that would have tied it. Field goal from the 10-yard line, went for it, didn't get it, and ultimately Bama held on. But in that game, Georgia ran the ball 33 times for 227. They only threw it for 130 yards in that game, 13 of 20, but they ran it 33 times for 227. My point is, Alabama's rush defense is vulnerable. Even the Vanderbilt game, Bama won that one 30-14. But remember, they were running out the clock and they busted off a long run. So it was 23-14. And Diego Pavia had 2 red zone turnovers, a fumble and an interception, both in the red zone, scoring opportunities for Vanderbilt in that game. Vandy in that game ran it 19 times for 135 yards. They threw it 35. They got imbalanced in that game, but they ran it for 7.1 yards per carry. Should have run it more. All that to say, you can run the ball against Alabama if you commit to doing it. I'm not telling you LSU is going to run it 37 times for 230 yards. What I'm telling you is they could run the ball 31 times for 180, for 165. And if you do that, they have to respect your ability to run the football, which is going to open up your passing game, which has been a problem all year. So these are basic offensive tenets. You want to be balanced, so you make the defense have to respect both the pass and the run. Defenses right now do not have to respect LSU's ability to run the football because they do not try to run the football. When they did in the first half against Texas A&M, they ran for 7 yards a carry. You will have opportunities to run the football, control the clock against Alabama if you commit to doing it. My guess is Alex Atkins, Frank Wilson are going to make that and all the physicality a very intentional part of this football game for LSU on Saturday night. So great energy and effort, which I think is absolutely going to happen. And then more running. We will look, listen, I'll make a prediction. I will be floored if this game ends and LSU has not run the ball at least 30 times. They ran it 31 times against Clemson, 30 times against South Carolina. There's not another game all season where they've run the ball at least 30 times. I believe in this game on Saturday, you will see LSU run the ball at least 30 rushing attempts in this football game, because that is going to be their path to win. Protect the defense, keep them on the sideline, run the clock, move the chains, make Alabama respect your ability to run the football, opening up the middle of the field for Garrett Nussmeier and these great receivers. That's one of those things that I think if you're looking for what can be materially different after 8 games and you sort of being what you are, that's one thing. You can make a commitment to saying we are going to call more running plays and be intentional about running the football. Frank Wilson said it. All the players have said it. They're working in physicality. They're doing run fit periods, 9-on-7, 9 defenders, 7 offensive players where everyone knows they're running between the tackles. Like, they're going to do it. I'm not saying it's going to work. I'm not saying all of a sudden LSU is going to explode and be this great offense. but they're going to run the football on Saturday in Tuscaloosa, and we'll see if that nets them a benefit. I'll give you a final thought on the game, what I think is the difference in the final score as we wrap up next year. Locked on LSU, your team every day. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. The part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. So, one of the things that we've been asked a good bit this week is about Michael Van Buren, and if we think that Van Buren might actually play in this football game. Frank Wilson has been asked that question in every press conference. He's given pretty much the same answer.
Practice has gone well. Michael have taken more snaps than he usually has. Again, I'll reiterate, Garrett is our starter. He will take to the field. He will get every opportunity to do the things that we think he can do to help our football team. And there'll be opportunities that'll arise in the game that may present itself that Michael will have opportunity as well. He's practiced really well. He understands that any moment he can be called into action. As we continue the game plan, there are pieces in it as you work the areas of the field from coming out to freewheeling zone to red zone all the way down to goal line and short yards in between. Exactly where that'll fit, we have to figure that out.
Essentially, Frank Wilson's telling you, we got a plan for Michael Van Buren. There might be a situation in the game where he plays. I don't think you're going to see Van Buren get full series or you're going to see a rotation. I think you could have a situation where, call it, 3rd and 1, and they want to go for it, and you put Van Buren in the game to run some type of read option to utilize his feet. I think that's a possibility in this game. Maybe 3 to 5 snaps for Michael Van Buren. Like, that might make sense in this game. It wouldn't surprise me at all. You got nothing to lose. Your playoff hopes are gone. You're on the road. You're an underdog. I'm not saying be careless, but if you want to take a chance, you can take a chance in that situation. I think you might see Van Buren on the field for a few plays in a situation like that. A guy that we know we won't see on the field is Whit Weeks. He is doubtful for the game. It's something I've been telling you since Nashville. The LSU has downplayed and slow played this injury, and quite honestly, I'm not sure why. I've asked, and they aren't putting out a statement on what the nature of the injury is. But if you're an everydayer, you've heard me say it, it should come as no surprise that Whit won't play in this game. But here was West Weeks on not having Whit out there.
For me personally, I mean, obviously not having him out there, it's so much fun to be on the same field as him. But he's working his tail off to rehab and get back right, and he's been running and doing everything right. So hopefully he's able to roll this week, and he obviously plays such a big role for our defense, and he's the guy who's bringing all the energy for us, and we kind of group around him. So if he's able to go this weekend, that'll be great. If he's not, he'll be on the sidelines cheering us on and all. So it'll be good either way for us.
That was Wednesday, by the way, before the injury reports have come out that have Whit Weeks as doubtful. And I also don't think it's a coincidence that the 2 games where your defense has looked the most vulnerable, Ole Miss, of course, but you held them to 24 points. But the 2 games against Vanderbilt and Texas A&M, 2 things. You didn't have Whit Weeks in either of those games, and you were facing a mobile quarterback. At this point, I think it is fair to say that, Blake Baker's Achilles heel is the mobile quarterback. His defenses just don't seem to have a great plan for how to deal with that. So would love to see that rectified, but this week you're not facing a mobile quarterback. Ty Simpson is an athletic guy, but he's not a threat to run. On the season, Ty Simpson running the football has run the ball. I'm trying to get his exact statistic. Excuse me. On the season, Ty Simpson running has 51 carries for 79 yards. His long is 20 yards. So again, that's not a sack adjusted number, so that includes the sacks, but still only 79 rushing yards on the season for Ty Simpson. He's not a threat to run the football, so that does, in a sense, play into LSU's hands. The other notable is that Karius Kern is probable to play in this football game. So if Kern plays, that means he would likely start at left tackle. If Kern can't play at left tackle, DJ Chester would start in that spot. Kern's injured his knee late in the game against Texas A&M. The bye came at a good time. They've got him out there, run him around a little bit, so he's going to try to give it a go. And if you need Chester, you have another option there on the offensive line. You know, this Alabama team and LSU, I mentioned a bit ago, they really are mirror images. Two teams that statistically have struggled run defense, very athletic on the back end, great receivers, inability to run the football. It's interesting because statistically they really are almost mirror images of one another. But there's one giant glaring difference, and that one giant glaring difference is the quarterback position. You see, Alabama this year has not been a dominant football team. They're 7-1, and they're ranked 4th in the country. But they got dump trucked by Florida State. They blew out ULM and Wisconsin. They went to Georgia and won that game 24-21. Remember, Bama got up early, got shut out in the second half of that game, and Kirby passed on a field goal in the fourth quarter that would have tied it. The Vanderbilt game, final score is 30-14. But remember, Vanderbilt led in that game. It was 2 red zone turnovers by Diego Pavia that really cost Vanderbilt that football game. Bama, while they were trying to run out the clock, Vandy had everyone at the line. They busted a long run for a touchdown, which is why the final margin ended up what it was. That was a much closer game than that. Missouri led early in that game, finished 27-24, just a 3-point game, and Missouri had a final possession there to go win it. Bama came up with a stop. You give them credit. Tennessee, you look at that final score, 37-20, seems huge. There was a 99-yard pick six on the last play of the first half. Tennessee looks like they're going to score and make it a 3-point game at half. Instead, 99-yard pick six. And instead of that, boom, you're down 17. The game was over at that point. So all that, and then South Carolina, Bama won that game 29-22. But my goodness, that's one of those situations where Alabama, the Lenora Sellers fumbles. South Carolina was up 8 in the fourth quarter. Had they not passed on a PAT earlier trying to chase points, they would have been up 9 in the fourth quarter and would have won the game. Instead, Bama scored, got the 2-point conversion. Then Sellers fumbled. Bama scored and won. All that to say, Bama has found ways to win games. So you give them credit. I'm not discrediting them. They have found a way to win all these games, which is amazing. It shows how to win awareness. It shows the ability to make plays late and stay focused, all of that. But they haven't blown teams out. That's the point I'm making. This isn't like an Alabama team like in 2020 that ran roughshod over everybody and LSU was awful, laid down in Tiger Stadium, and Bama beat them by 50. It's not that. It's not that Bama team. It's a team that struggled on the offensive line, has struggled to run the football, has struggled to defend the run, has played a lot of close games. They've just managed to win a lot of close games. So I don't have any reason to believe this would be anything other than a really close game throughout. I know LSU was hideous against Texas A&M, but their other 2 losses on the road against Ole Miss, on the road against Vanderbilt, those were single possession games on the road against at the time top 10 teams. So there's no crime in losing a road game to a top 10 team by a score. And that's what happened to LSU. And in both of those situations, mobile quarterbacks bit you. That's not what you're going to face in this one. And I'll remind you, look, there has not been a lot of juice around this game. The last time that there was an LSU Bama game with this little energy around it was 2021. Ed had been fired. He was a lame duck coach, but LSU elevated, as they often do in this game, and they went to Tuscaloosa, scored first, ended up getting down 20-7, scored in the third quarter to make it 20-14, and had a throw into the end zone on the final play with a chance to win the football game that fell incomplete. But point being, I expect a great effort from LSU, and I expect LSU to commit to running the football. I can't pick LSU to win it because of Ty Simpson. If you're ever torn on a game, and I'm not so sure that I'm even torn on picking this game, but I always look at coach, venue, and quarterback. Those 3 things. Kalen DeBoer has obviously been a more successful head coach than Frank Wilson. That's undeniable. Venue is in Tuscaloosa. Bama's at home. And the quarterback, I don't have a Heisman vote. If I did, Ty Simpson would be my Heisman pick as of right now. And it's not just because of the 20 touchdowns and the 1 interceptions. Sometimes you get away with bad balls, but he is seemingly, when they had to make a play, he seemingly always is there to make it, either with his feet or with his arm. So Ty Simpson is just playing at a different level than Garrett Nussmeier. Is Nussmeier capable? Sure, we've seen him do it. Big rally last year at South Carolina, the huge win last year against Ole Miss. We've seen Garrett Nussmeier do it. Look, I mean, when he started the bowl game against Wisconsin in that start at after Jaden Daniels opted out at the end of 2023, he led with a 98-yard touchdown drive to win it. Garrett's got it in him. We've seen him do it before. We just haven't seen it this year. And that's really the challenge. So can you now get yourself together to go play your best game of the season on the road in Tuscaloosa to try to win this football game? It's possible. I think you could absolutely see a game play out similar to that Clemson game. A low-scoring game, offense hard to come by, defensive battle, try to play some defensive efficiency football, shrink the game with running it, and see who can make a play late. Ultimately, LSU made the plays late in that game against Clemson. So far this year, throughout their entire season, it's been Ty Simpson and Alabama that have made the plays late. They have shown the ability to do that over and over again this year. And so I'll pick them to do it again. I think you have a close game and maybe Alabama scores late to give a little bit of margin. I do think Alabama wins it. I picked them 30-20. I think the odds makers are pretty spot on with how they've had this one pegged, but I don't think you're looking at a landslide. I think it's a super close game throughout, when LSU is going to have an opportunity to make a play in the fourth quarter, try to steal one on the road. And if they do, my goodness, I will have an epic Bama is burning on Monday. But also, if LSU manages to win this game, the conversations for Frank Wilson now change, because Arkansas and Western Kentucky are on deck. Those should be relatively easy wins for LSU in Tiger Stadium. And then you go to Norman to take on a ranked Oklahoma team who could very well be playing for a playoff spot that last playing date, with a lot on the line for Oklahoma and potentially for Frank Wilson and the future of LSU football. But got to get the win Saturday and pull that upset on the road against Alabama and Tuscaloosa to even have those conversations. We'll see if they can do it. Of course, we'll be here after the game giving you your full recap and reaction to LSU and Alabama. Great to just talk some football for a change after the last 2 weeks. Hey, thanks so much for making us your first listen. We're free, available wherever you get podcasts. So if you're on podcasts, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app, rate us, leave a review. YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. Thanks for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in the world. What an honor to be a part of it. And thank you for being an everydayer as well, right here. It's Locked On LSU, your team every day.